Component number one is structure. So think of this like the brakes to your car. If you don't have ample structure, good tires, good brakes, it's going to do no good to have a ton of horsepower. Traditional training seeks to build up maximal strength in the hopes that it leads to greater athleticism. Now, this isn't inherently wrong. You won't ever see any studies that say strength is bad, but there needs to be a balance between the horsepower that you can generate and the force that you can control. So, to build the brakes, the materials needed are joint range, long range, and short range exercises. Joint range, these are exercises that bias the joint as the limiting factor, which will enhance ligamentous hypertrophy, increase synovial fluid production. Long range, these are exercises that place the most torque on the muscle as it is lengthening. This has been shown to increase fascicle lengthening and activate winding mechanisms in the muscle itself, in the cellular components themselves, to create better volitional stiffness over the working range of motion, as well as adapt the tendon. Short range, these are exercises that place the most torque on the muscle as it is shortening. This will help to increase blood flow, local muscular endurance, and increased mind-to-muscle connection, enhancing peripheral motor activation. From a kinesiology point of view, we need to analyze the most important joints responsible for longevity and athletic performance if we're talking about a skilled position like football. From what I've observed over the years, I can think of three big keys in relation to injuries observed and athletic ability demonstrated from athletes in the sport. Number one would be the knee, and obviously ACL tears is the number one injury that comes to mind. Number two would be the hip, and the injury that comes to mind there are hamstring tears. And number three would be the ankle and Achilles tears, most notably with Aaron Rodgers. For the knee, ankle, and hip, the primary means of getting blood flow into these joints to enhance joint range and long range work is going to be forward and backward sled. When you go forward, you get great posterior chain muscle pump, and when you go backward, you get great anterior chain muscle pump, which will flood the body with stability, protection, and mind-muscle connection. The joint range exercise progression for the knee that is going to maximize synovial fluid production, enhance ligamentous hypertrophy, specifically protecting the ACL, meniscus, and cartilage, is going to be establishing strength standards in the Poliquin step, going from 25% body weight for a basic standard of 10 reps on a 10-inch box with the 2-inch heel wedge, to a 50% body weight, 10 reps on an 8-inch box with the 2-inch wedge, and then finally the advanced standard of 75% body weight for 10 reps, 6-inch box, 2-inch wedge. Then the ATG split squat, a 50% body weight standard, 10 reps on flat ground using a wedge, going to 75% body weight for 8 reps on flat ground, and then 100% body weight for 5 reps. And then ATG squat with chains, going for 100% of your body weight with an additional 25 pounds in loading for chains, with 8 reps with a 5-second eccentric. The intermediate standard of 150% body weight plus 25 pounds in chains, 3 reps for a 5-second eccentric. And then finally the advanced standard of 200% of your body weight with an additional load of 25 pounds in chains, 1 rep, 5-second eccentric, while also ensuring you can attain and maintain standards for couch stretch, KOT squat, and reverse Nordic for long range knee ability. So now for the hip, the joint range exercise progression that we want to do to maximize synovial fluid production, optimize hip position for protection against hamstring tears, and protect the labrum and cartilage of the hip is going to be these 3 key exercises. Exercise number 1 is the reverse hip thrust with a basic standard of 25% body weight for 10 reps on a 10-inch box with a 2-inch wedge, progressing to the intermediate standard of 50% body weight, 10 reps, 8-inch box, 2-inch wedge, and then the advanced standard of 75% body weight for 10 reps, 6-inch box, 2-inch wedge. Exercise number 2 will be the reverse RDL with a basic standard of 50% body weight for 10 reps on the 2-inch wedge, then the intermediate standard of 75% body weight for 8 reps on the 2-inch wedge, and then finally the advanced standard of 100% body weight for 5 reps on the 2-inch wedge. And then the classic exercise, the RDL, for a basic standard of 100% body weight with an additional 25 pounds in chains for 8 reps, and then the intermediate standard of 150% body weight plus 25 pounds in additional load in the chains with 3 reps, and then finally a 200% body weight advanced standard with the RDL with an additional 25 pounds in chains for 1 rep with a 5-second eccentric, while also ensuring you can attain and maintain piriformis, Jefferson curl, and Nordic standards for long-range hip ability. For the ankle, the joint range exercise progression that's going to maximize synovial fluid production, optimize ankle position for protection against Achilles tear is going to be, first, the Achilles step, the basic standard of 10% body weight, 2-inch wedge on the ground on top of a 2-inch box for 20 reps. Then an intermediate standard of 15% body weight with a 4-inch step with a 2-inch wedge for 12 reps. Then an advanced standard of 20% body weight, 6-inch step, a 2-inch wedge on top for 10 reps. Exercise number 2 and 3 will be for a basic standard, slant board calf raise and KOT calf raise at 15% body weight for 12 reps. Then intermediate standard of 20% body weight for 8 reps, and then an advanced standard of 25% body weight, 4 reps. And then finally, exercise number 4 with a basic standard of 15% body weight for 15 reps, an intermediate standard of 20% body weight for 10 reps, and then finally an advanced standard of 25% body weight for 5 reps, while also ensuring you can attain and maintain standards for ankle circles, calf stretch, and foot stretch for long-range ankle ability. Component number 2 is the central nervous system. The goal is to amplify the electric output from the brain to the muscles to increase your athletic potential. To build the horsepower, the materials needed will be maximal strength work, max speed sprinting, and jumping. You aren't going to drive like a Lamborghini if you have the motor of a Honda. A very simple way when training by yourself is to get your camera set up, use an app that gives precise time measurements, give yourself 3 seconds to cover as much distance as possible. And from sprint to sprint, week to week, month to month, the goal is to cover more ground in the same amount of time. For sprints, I'm talking about spiked up, 100% effort with much rest, only a few times. This ensures that there's no fatigue that's limiting your output potential, because remember, the body adapts specifically to the forces placed onto it. When we are considering speed training, we want the body to become incredibly efficient at utilizing the PCR energy system. How fast can the cells of the body deliver energy from its energy stores quickly? This takes rest and patience. We don't want to build plow horses. We want to build race horses. We don't want to sprint fatigued and slow. We want to adapt the body for speed, which requires it to sprint fresh and fast. Speed creates endurance, but not the other way around. So let me explain. Suppose you have a receiver that can run 18 miles an hour at their max speed, and the corner that they're going to go up against can run 21 miles an hour. Every single route that this receiver runs is not only going to be not enough to outrun the corner, but the corner is still going to be fresh, because they're going to be at most running at 85% of their max speed capacity. An 18-mile-an-hour receiver who can run at 100% of their capacity the entire game will not outplay a corner who only has to run 85% of their capacity during the game, because speed kills. Killer speed gives speed reserve, which creates endurance. The faster athlete will be able to endure because they aren't working at their max capacity. Speed kills. This is why we train component number 2, not with grueling long jogs, not with gassers, but spiked up, fast, and high rest sprinting. So component number 3 is elasticity. Going back to the car analogy, elasticity will be similar to the suspension of your car. Here, the muscle tendon unit is being trained in force transfer from landing force to propulsion force. For football players, it's no shocker that the Achilles tendon, the biggest ailment in athletes that have trained for years, putting tension on the Achilles in one direction without focusing on reversing that tension to the other direction. Tendon stiffness does not mean tendon tightness. We don't want tendon tightness. We want the tendon to be able to create stiffness at all degrees of its working range. Stiffness is volitional control when the strain on the tendon seeks to create laxity. Research shows that the higher the strain that is put on the tendon, the greater the stiffness it adapts to have. Strain training leads to internal adaptations, while plyometric training leads to external adaptations. We need both to increase healthy springiness of the Achilles tendon. Strain training. This will naturally be developed during the structure session of the ankle. Each of these exercises force the muscles and tendons around the ankle to create stability with high strain and slow speeds, leading to cellular stiffness adaptations. Plyometric training, bounding. So the first jump is all central nervous system, the motor, the gas. The second and third jumps are going to test and develop tendon elasticity. The greater elasticity you have in your tendons, the less force is wasted. We want our suspension to be stable with each jump that we take. Ambidexterity refers to being able to effectively utilize both left and right sides equally well. It was this methodology that helped to increase my long jump by 32 inches in a 3-month window. It led to thousands of athletic transformations from the ATG system. So the skill of route running, There's 32 total foot plants depending on the hash, foot, and pattern that's ran. So we have from the right hash a left foot plant with an out pattern or an in pattern, a right foot plant with an out pattern or an in pattern, a right left plant, out, in pattern, a left right plant, out, in pattern, and then when we add hesitation, we have a left plant, out pattern, a left plant, in pattern, hesitation, right left plant, out, hesitation, right left plant, in, hesitation, left right plant, out, hesitation, left right plant, in, hesitation, right foot plant, out, hesitation, right foot plant, in. And to get the other 16 route combinations, you just simply go to the other hash and repeat the same plants. The greater balance you get in your route running will mean less overloading of your structure and greater overall athleticism.